What is up guys, Andy Forestine Runner here, and today we're going to be comparing the Brooks HYPERION Tempo to the HOKA Rincon and the New Balance Fresh Foam Beacon V2. So why am I comparing these three shoes? Well, as soon as I got the Brooks HYPERION Tempo last week and really started getting my teeth into some miles with it, it instantly drew comparisons for me with the HOKA Rincon. And when I did some research back in my old Rincon videos, I knew straight away I wanted to compare these two shoes, but realised they were both in my UK size 13 under 10 ounces, which is unheard of. It's a miracle to get shoes in that way. And then I thought, why not dig back into the archives and see what other shoes we have under 10 ounces. And of course the New Balance Beacon version 2 comes in the lightest of the three of them, so I thought we'll chuck that in as well. We'll go through today the pros and cons of each of the shoes. It will not be technical, it will just be the pros and cons. Then at the end I will give you my overall conclusion as to which one is best for each scenario. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the HYPERION Tempo. So starting off with the Brooks HYPERION Tempo, a couple of very basic stats for you before I talk about the pros and the cons. It is 281 to 2 grams, 9.9 ounces or 9.8 ounces, in and around that mark, squeaking under the 10 ounce barrier. It's an 8mm heel to toe drop, and I did go true to size in this shoe. Full technical specification is in the first impressions videos of each of these shoes. Today is just the pros and the cons. There's a couple of cons, but mainly this shoe has been faultless. And as I said in the intro, I drew instant impressions with the Rincon. I haven't run in a shoe this light since the Rincon and had such pleasure in running in a shoe since the Rincon. In terms of the lightweight side of things, the Beacon will come to at the end. But in terms of the pros, the DNA Flash midsole is absolutely incredible. It's that perfect balance between soft and firm. It sits in the middle. It's nice and responsive. The upper, the lacing, the fit, everything's great. There's not really too much I can complain about. The two things for me in this shoe that might be a little bit dicey moving forwards, and Kofuzi summed it up perfectly in his Atreyu running shoe video. If you watch that, he was talking about Atreyu shoes and how when you landed, that side of the gait cycle was perfect, but when you pushed off, it was just lacking that little something. And I think in a day and age where meta rockers and speed roll technology and all of that design where shoes kind of kick up a little bit more at the front here to really make you want to roll through in your foot strike, this thing lacks that a bit. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? I can relate to that with this shoe. So there's just something there. It's a very minor gripe. It's nothing major. In a shoe this light, it's really not a big deal. But I can just imagine if this thing had some kind of meta rocker technology and it was something just to give you that extra push off, it would be an absolute beast. And the only other thing that I found a gripe with this shoe was after 21-mile long run on the weekend, my legs were absolutely in pieces. It took me an extra day to recover. I had to take Monday off, sadly. So we then started the week on Tuesdays, which isn't a problem. The calves were just absolutely so tight after finishing that run. I thought it could have been the drop of the shoe, but then 8mm, I'm very used to that. So I don't know what it was about that run, but something happened. It might be shoe related, it might not. The only thing I can think is it is shoe related because I've not suffered like that after anything for a while. So the midsole for me lends itself to maybe half marathon distance and below. I really don't think in the future I'll be taking it past that point. Other than that, this shoe has been absolutely solid in the 53 miles we've done so far, and I cannot wait to take it further. So moving on to the HOKA Rincon, 29mm in the back, 24 in the heel, 5mm heel to toe drop, 278 grams in my size, which is 9.8 ounces, so again squeaking just under that 10-ounce barrier. Now if you know or an OG subscriber, you've followed the channel since last year, you'll know that this was my shoe of the year, and the only major drawback with this thing was the durability. It just sadly gave up the ghost after around 180 miles. I managed to eke it out to about 230, 240, and then I had to stop. It was just giving me too much pain in the ankle and the shins. But on the whole, those 180 miles we had out of this shoe were incredible. I set PRs in the 5K and the half marathon in this shoe, and I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to get the Rincon 2. Yes, durability again will not be great, but it's one of the best shoes I have ever run in. And why did I like this shoe so much? Pros and cons of this thing. The upper, the fit, the ankle area, the lockdown, everything in this shoe was absolutely perfect. There was not one fault that I could find when running in this shoe. I could lock it down. It was just perfect plushness all the way around. Not too thick, not too thin. Laces were great. No messing around here with extra material. Just gets the job done. And for a HOKA, I gather, I haven't tried many HOKAs. In fact, I've tried 2 HOKAs. Both of them have a relatively wider toe box. Some people report that the Rincon toe box is narrow. I'd say it's somewhere in the middle, bordering wide, because I have wide feet and I fit perfectly in it. Yes, a little bit snug, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not on the narrower side. The major drawback I found with this shoe, as I said, with the durability, not only that, but we had a lot of exposed midsole in the outsole here. Well, there is no rubber outsole, but a few little yellow bits in the high wearing areas. I had some thorns go through the shoe. I've shown this on many occasions. One that went right through here that came out the top of the shoe and missed my big toe by 1 millimeter. And as you can see, where is it? Just here. There's a thorn that went straight through the midsole there as well. So you've got to be really careful where and when you're running in this shoe. If you're running where there's a lot of debris, sharp rocks and things, you've got to be so careful that you don't pierce the midsole, because this is clearly quite flimsy and it went straight through. Other than that, to be perfectly honest with you, durability was the main downside of this shoe. Duration, I could run as long as I wanted in this thing. 20-mile long runs were never an issue in the Rincon. Unlike the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, this shoe I could take from 5K all the way up, probably, to be honest with you, running a marathon in this shoe. Wouldn't do too much training because I know the midsole will go flat, but if I had it in under 100 miles, I certainly would consider this as a non-carbon plated option. And finally, onto the New Balance Fresh Foam Beacon version 2, 273 grams in my size, 9.6 ounces, 26 stack height in the heel, 20 mil in the forefoot, 6 millimeter heel to toe drop. And I have a lot to say about this shoe. It started off not the best in my hands. I didn't really enjoy the midsole. The Fresh Foam in this midsole was a little bit too firm. It warmed up after about 50 miles and I had a real enjoyable experience up until in and around about 100 miles. I had about a 50-mile window, which I pretty much picked this shoe for a lot of things and did a lot of stuff in this thing, from easy runs, intervals, tempo runs. I did a long run in it. And then after 100 miles, for whatever reason, it just kind of went really firm again. And it's such... Fresh Foam, the original Fresh Foam, is not a midsole I ever got on with. I did a 20-mile or an 18-mile long run in this shoe and it was the most of my legs were beaten up. I think the Hyperion Tempo has probably given it a run for its money, but on the whole, I said in my long run test video of this shoe, this is the last time I will be taking this shoe out for a long run. So again, unlike the Rincon, but very similar to the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, I would only ever, after that long run, take this thing to 13 miles maximum. On the whole though, a super lightweight shoe, the lightest I have or had in my rotation whilst I was using it. And I found it really good, as I said, for the easier days, for the intervals, speed sessions, everything. It was a bit of a jack of all trades, like the Rincon and like the Hyperion Tempo. I do find these lighter shoes a pleasure to run in, and in a day and age where back in the day we used to have heavier shoes for easy days and lighter shoes for the speedy stuff, it's nice to have lighter options with big cushioning for those easy days, because it doesn't feel like you're putting a tank on your feet, unlike the the React Miler. So overall with this thing, the main con for me, and that made me retire this thing early, was the really super firm midsole. But on the whole, again, I love the heel flare. I've talked about it in many of my shoe reviews. The tongue was perfect padding. It wasn't too thick, it wasn't too thin, it wasn't gusseted, but it was perfect. Lovely cushioned in and around the heel counter area. Nice breathable upper, very lightweight woven woven synthetic mesh upper. I can't remember exactly what it is, but lots of holes in the toe area, feeling good. And again, lots of exposed foam. The main difference between this and the Rincon is I never had any thorns go up through there. I think the Rincon midsole was a lot softer and allowed thorns to kind of penetrate through the midsole. This, absolutely nothing. I think the durability on this thing far outweighs the Rincon. A few bits of outsole rubber in and around the high wearing areas, but on the whole, the Beacon 2 didn't really get going for me. So final thoughts on the three shoes. What would I use for long runs, speed runs? What is my preference for each of these shoes? Easy runs, all that stuff. Well, the one that stood out for me for the long run side of things is the Rincon. Out of those three shoes, that's the only shoe I would consider for the longer distance runs. If you're looking for something that's lightweight but going to do long runs, then the Rincon, I wouldn't look any further. You've just got to be prepared for a bit of lack of durability. And if you're not too worried about that, the price point is $104.99. But I gather you can get it a little bit cheaper here and there now because of the impending release of the Rincon 2. So if you can get that thing for £70–80, in my opinion, it's an absolute bargain, despite the fact that it doesn't last that long. So for me, the Rincon 100% was used for that mainly. And then of course, racing. Which ones would I race in? Again, I would choose the Rincon. It's the shoe that I race my PRs in. It's got that meta rocker design in it to feel like, unlike the HYPERION Tempo and the New Balance shoe, not only do you get that responsiveness when you land, but you get that little bit extra when you push off. So again, the best of the best non-carbon plated options, in my opinion, has to go to the Rincon. Intervals, speed sessions, kilometer repeats, all that sort of stuff. The New Balance Beacon sadly will not feature in this category. I put the HYPERION Tempo and the Rincon up there on a pedestal together. Both of them, I couldn't separate them. They're both fantastic for that area of training. For me, I wouldn't know what to pick between the two. They're both that good. I think if I really wanted to go for speed, I might edge the Rincon again just because of the meta rocker. But on the whole, if I'm just going out doing interval work, I would just literally wouldn't know which one to pick. So again, both of them fall into that incredible category. In easy running, which one would I go to? In terms of the Beacon V2, that was the one that I leaned towards the most. Despite it being a lighter weight shoe, I definitely went for the Beacon V2 for the easier days. It just worked really well for me when I had that 50-mile window, as I said. And actually, I'd also pick the HYPERION Tempo 2. I wouldn't waste the Rincon's limited mileage doing easy runs. I would hone that in on where I'm going to get the most benefit. So I'd certainly put the HYPERION Tempo and the Beacon version 2 up there. So in terms of all-round, which one would I go for as an all-rounder? I'm going to say it's going to be a toss-up between the HYPERION Tempo and the Rincon. If you're prepared for limited durability but a heck of a lot cheaper, then the Rincon is going to be the one for you. If you want something a little bit more durable but you're going to be paying a little bit more of a premium price for, the HYPERION Tempo is there. It's going to last a little bit longer. And the Beacon V2, I know loads of you love that shoe. Sadly for me, it just wasn't the case. But if you love the firmness of a midsole, when you like a firmer midsole, you're not a fan of soft stuff, then the V2 will be for you. So that's it for today, guys. Those are my thoughts on those three incredible lightweight shoes. As I said, a pleasure to have shoes under 10 ounces. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below which ones of those you have, or how you like to use them, and how you find they stack up against each other. If you enjoyed it today, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Until then.